What is the future of the automobile? I'm John Deere for Wow Now I Know, and today we're going to talk about where automobiles are going. It's a surprising story that doesn't go where you think. The story begins in 1903, when people still got around in horse and buggy. Then along came the car. Starting with Henry Ford's mass production of automobiles in 1903, cars began to spread. Major car manufacturers began springing up almost overnight. Between the 1930s and the 1950s, these major car manufacturers, together with oil companies, began purchasing up nearly 90% of the street cars in the United States and systematically destroying them. When the scandal broke, it made major headlines and led to some prosecutions, but the deed was done and it worked. By now, people considered automobiles the primary means to get around. By 1958, there were 67 million cars in the United States alone. Today, there are more than 253 million cars on the roads. During this time, people grew passionate about their cars, with car magazines, car clubs, and car culture spreading across the nation and the globe. People ate, watched movies, went to church, and even made love in their cars. People did everything in their cars. When this generation imagined the future of cars, they imagined bigger, better, and faster. What they imagined was this. This is the Aeromobil, a prototype flying car that drives on the highway and lifts off into the air like a personal airplane. The makers hope to be in mass production by 2017. One shortcoming: a flying car costs about the same price as a small private plane, which is many, many times more expensive than a car. For the moment, cars are stuck on the ground where that love affair with automobiles has always flourished. But in the last decade, something has changed. That love affair seems to be cooling. Young Americans are no longer interested in driving. They no longer rush to get their driver's licenses, they don't buy cars, and they are much less interested in car culture. They find many other demands on their time and money, including social media, computers, and rapidly changing technology in all directions. Cars are last on their list. The interest is so noticeably lacking that the U.S. government is quickly changing its transportation projections for the next few decades. And that's just part of what's changing. The next change is an even bigger game changer, and it comes from companies like Uber and Lyft. What they do is make catching a ride super cheap, fast, and efficient. In the case of Uber, they do it by solving a classic problem of computer science, the traveling salesman problem. The problem is simple, but the answer turns out to be incredibly complex. How do you calculate a route that visits each of many stops in the shortest possible distance and get to every single stop? In the case of Uber, they have to juggle many cars with an ever-changing set of stops. As simple as this problem sounds, no computer has ever been able to solve it. So Uber throws a whole room full of advanced mathematicians at the issue every day. They develop systems to allow Uber drivers to pick you up quickly when you call, to get you to your next stop, and then to efficiently get to their next call. It's a great advantage over everyone else, including taxis. And that brings us to our next important innovation that affects the future of cars. And that innovation is the self-driving car. We've all heard of the Google self-driving cars, but what many overlook is that every major automobile manufacturer has its own self-driving car in the works. The Mercedes F-15, Cadillac's self-driving SRX, and Chevy's ENVI are just a few examples. Most of the technology is already in existence. It's just a matter of implementing it and convincing consumers and government officials that it's at least as safe and actually much safer than the way we are driving now. Each of these cars removes the driver from the equation. That last car, the Chevy ENVI, is instructive. It touts itself as a networked vehicle. That means it is in communication with something. That something turns out to be other cars. In 2014, the National Highway Safety Transportation Administration decided to move the industry to car-to-car communications. The goal: each vehicle should have 360-degree awareness of its surroundings. That means in the near future, the computer in each car will know what's happening in all directions around it. We now have all the pieces of the puzzle to see the future of the automobile. We have self-driving cars, super efficient data analysis by companies like Google, Apple, Uber, and many others, and a lack of interest in individual automobile ownership. When you put all those together, we get fleets of self-driving cars. Futurists predict that instead of owning vehicles, we will all subscribe to services just the way we subscribe to Netflix. Uber, Google, and others will offer their own subscription services. Self-driving vehicles will pick us up in minutes and drop us safely at our destinations. Futurists even predict it will be illegal to drive your own vehicle on most roads. We will all be relieved of the burdens of individual automobile ownership. No more garages, no more mechanics, no more paid parking spaces. Traffic will flow much more efficiently and much more safely. With these efficiencies, traffic in major cities will be reduced by 90%. But we will give up our love affair with the automobile. And that is the future of the car. If you like this episode, please subscribe. That's what keeps us alive. You can also check out our blog at wownowiknow.com. I'm John Deere, and as always, thanks for watching.